Hi friends, this is your pal Scott Garibay, and today we are going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we're going to ask the question: why are your players at the table? And we're going to dig into this through the lens of the brilliant Apple TV television show by Ben Stiller and Severance, and we're going to talk about Severance. And today we're going to look at the motivation of the employee, the severed employee, Irving B. All right, so this is Irving B. is played by John Turturro. Absolutely phenomenal performance. I think I enjoyed John Turturro's performance in Severance more than actually. Zach Cherry was extremely good as Dylan G. There are no bad performances in Severance. It's so good, but I really enjoyed John Turturro's Irving B. And I found it just be a really fascinating portrayal of a severed employee. Okay, so why do people show up at our Dungeons and Dragons table? And I'm convinced we don't really know, right? Like, I'll be, oh, they're here to cut goblins in half and play a game. That ain't it, right? I think there's a whole lot of reasons why people show up to Dungeons and Dragons. And I like this idea of exploring motivations of players through Severance. So we talked about Dylan G. He is motivated by perks, okay? We talked about Helly R. And Helly R was absolutely motivated by tearing the system down, by a desire to tear the system down. Her motivation is to break the severed floor, to break Lumen. All right. Now, Irving B is the exact opposite. Irving B is motivated specifically, right? Irving B is specifically motivated by a desire to be useful to Lumen. He is all in on Lumen. His loyalty is to the company. He wants to be useful to the company. He wants to be loyal to the company, and he has a genuine interest in the history of Lumen. And he believes that there is a genuine purpose to his labor at Lumen. Now, I have to say, I was blown away by Irving and how he interacted with the world, and I really loved just how dedicated he was to Lumen, and it was really inspiring. I loved how he was all in. He wanted to be there. He believes in the company he's working in, and he is absolutely motivated by the history of Lumen, the structure of Lumen, the purpose of Lumen. He loves his company, he loves his work, and he wants to reward Lumen with his loyalty, with his hard labor, with his dedication, and with his appreciation, right, for his work, right? And it was incredibly inspiring. I loved seeing Irving B, right? Now, where does this land for Dungeons and Dragons? Well, where this lands for Dungeons and Dragons is we need to understand, and I am definitely in this space, we need to understand that there are some people who are at the Dungeons and Dragons table for Dungeons and Dragons. And man, oh man, am I seeing this more clearly than ever. So I am this way. I have, at my house, I have a little library of books, and that library of books is, my Dungeons and Dragons. It's 2 shelves. The entire bottom shelf is filled with D&D 5th edition canon hardbacks. I have a nice collection of D&D hardbacks from earlier editions. I literally have the entire collection of Orange Spine Easleys. And I have the PHB, the DMG, and the Monster Manual in literally every single I have it 1E, 2E, 3E, 4E, 5E, and 5I, right? Like 6 distinct sets, right? I have D&D through the time. And so, like, this is just like Irving B, like, oh, I want to see the statue of Kier, right? Like, I needed to see the statue of, the books of Dungeons and Dragons for literally every single, edition, right? And of course, 5I is not a new edition, but it's it's a revision, right? And so it's just, and I'm really excited about that. I generally, as excited as Irving was about Lumen, right? And so there are going to be people at your table who are there for D&D. They want to experience Dungeons and Dragons. They love Dungeons and Dragons. They're passionate about Dungeons and Dragons. They're appreciative of Dungeons and Dragons. They're respectful of Dungeons and Dragons. And not only are they respectful and excited the about the current edition, but they even have interest in the previous editions, right? Now, I will say I discount anybody who's like, and this is another thing that I loved about Irving. He's not like, oh, Lumen was good when Kier was here. Everybody else sucks, right? He's down for all of Lumen. He's down for Kier in the past, and for current administration of Lumen. He's down for past Lumen, and he's down for present Lumen, and he's down for future Lumen. And that's what I'm talking about, is getting a Dungeons and Dragons player who is motivated by by a passionate love for Dungeons and Dragons, period, right? And that is their motivation to be at the table. They love Dungeons and Dragons. They want to participate in Dungeons and Dragons. They want to consume Dungeons and Dragons. They want to be a part of Dungeons and Dragons. They want to energize Dungeons and Dragons. They want to be Dungeons and Dragons. And that is a very real motivation. And I will say I was blown away by the picture of a dedicated, extremely diligent employee, right? And Irving B is a fantastic character in Severance, and I think he's a very fantastic model for understanding Dungeons and Dragons players who are passionate about being at the table because they absolutely love Dungeons and Dragons genuinely. Every single word you heard in this video was my humble opinion. Not a thing more, not a thing less. The important part is when I get to hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider like subscribing and have a fetch millennium.